Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Getting Started with Partnering by Concentrate and Offshoot Consulting. My name is Greg Williamson. I'm a director of Concentrate, and I've got Tim Howell from Offshoot Consulting with me today as well. So welcome along. Really appreciate you finding some time to participate in this event. We're really excited about it and hope it'll be of some value. The format today is basically a presentation of approximately 20 minutes and then some time for questioning. So we are hoping to have a run rate of around 30 minutes. I'd welcome you to put questions into the question box. We have quite a large audience participating, so we'll just have to see how many questions we can get to at the end point. But really appreciate any questions you do have. So first I will just introduce a little bit. Myself, Greg Williamson from Concentrate, Tim Howell from Offshoot, who I'll let introduce himself in a minute. And I mean, to tell the truth, it's slightly fraudulent in that Tim is going to provide most of the presentation. I'm really going to provide some introduction and context, but Tim, we're really leveraging his expertise in this area, which we're delighted to be able to. Just to give you a little background on Concentrate, so we're a marketing agency that specialises in the technology field. We work with technology firms throughout New Zealand on a range of projects from pure strategic marketing, market research, reseller research, through to execution around lead generation, particularly digital marketing, and the whole requirement around marketing technology. So we're getting more and more into that. Our involvement in partnering has been relatively broad. We've done quite a bit of work in the commercialization area, working with universities and other groups to help commercialize their products and find channels to market for them, through to working with our normal clients to support their lead generation activities with channels. And myself, in terms of my own background, I've worked for a long time for Jade Software Corporation, including channel management roles there, and yeah, learned a lot and confronted the pain that I'm sure lots of you have had in terms of finding, assigning, and getting channels going. So I'll just hand over to Tim he can give you a brief précis of Offshoot.
So thanks, Greg. We're a new, basically, boutique marketing and strategy company, really focused on helping technology companies go global and grow. I suppose it's not uncommon for us to think of the tech space in New Zealand as a very enthusiastic and buoyant space, but when it comes to taking some of our great technology and packaging it up for sale, either within our own country or overseas, often firms struggle, and that's the problem that we're looking to try and solve. Essentially, we're trying to do that through providing a range of sort of marketing and partnership strategy services, and then also help organisations create the tools and resources that can really help them both identify and maximise those partnerships. In terms of my own background, I've worked in a range of industries in my 20+ years in this industry, ranging from startups where we've tried to take an idea, productize it, and then take that on a global basis successfully, to working within larger vendors who are working with the multinationals out there and trying to gain mind share, all important mind share, which we'll cover off a bit later on, to try and succeed in competitive market spaces. So thanks for your attention, and just to reiterate Greg's point, we really appreciate your time today.
Great, thanks, Tim. So to just cover the agenda, I'm going to provide a little bit of context in a second around this subject. Tim's going to go through the basics around our partnering strategy, and I want to emphasise that we have pitched this presentation. I mean, looking at the attendee list, which is a fantastic group, we have got a broad range of companies and levels of experience and things. So we really have pitched this at the getting started level, and we're really keen to engage with other people if you've got some other question areas. And once Tim's been through his part, we'll address as many questions as we can. So this graph I'm showing is from our market measure study that we've conducted annually for the last 8 years. Typically get about 300 New Zealand technology companies participating in that. It enables us to benchmark a whole lot of go-to-market activities, and channel is one of them. What we've found is, back in 2010, around a quarter of companies surveyed were using a channel to take their technology product to market, and that's increased. If you look on this graph, if you add the numbers together, you're getting closer to 30 now. So that is growing, but the percentage of people selling direct is still pretty dominant. And the interesting thing once we did the statistical analysis of last year's survey was having a channel approach did correlate with higher turnover growth, which got us thinking about the subject and wanting to dig into it more, and partner with Tim to provide some content around the ebook, which I assume a lot of you have seen, and if not, it is on our website for download. And also to run this webinar where we wanted to dig in more to the subject and provide some insight. So that gives you a bit of context of why we thought this was an important subject to address. What I'll do now is hand over to Tim, and he's going to run you through some key principles around partnering. So over to you, Tim.
Cool, thanks, Greg. I think regardless of how big or small your company is and what you're trying to do in terms of your go-to-market, I mean, often it's the easy approach to take things into your own hands and try and establish direct relationships with your customers, and that works. That helps us as businesses prove what we're doing, and it gives us a good foothold and good revenue, frankly, as we get our businesses up and underway. But I do think that, reiterating the point that Greg made in the research, that often partnerships give us the ability to scale, and by scale that could mean simply growing our customer bases more quickly because we're working with other organisations who can sell on our behalf, or it could just simply be to get into new markets or test new markets or into new industries that we might not have otherwise participated in because we didn't have expertise or skill sets or presence in those other markets. So in this presentation, we're basically looking at 4 areas. We're looking at if you're starting on the partnership journey, what do you need to think about to consider yourselves ready to partner? There are some sort of key things, regardless of how big or small you are, that you could start to consider. If you've made the call to explore channel marketing, finding partnerships, then what do you need to do, or what do you need to look for when finding the perfect partner? Then, once you've found them, how do you make sure you're on the same page? How do you align your expectations so that you're getting what you want and the partner is getting what they want out of the relationship? And then lastly, once you've got the partnership in place, what can you do? What should you be thinking about to maximize that partnership and really gas things up to go to the next level? I'm just waiting for the slide to change. Great. So one of the key things, regardless of which approach you choose, I think it's really important just to get some of the basics right, and it's arguable that these fundamentals apply whether you're wanting to retain and stay only in a sort of a direct sales model, or whether you want to be able to partner. There are some key facets of any sort of market development that you really need to understand in order to be able to take advantage of the opportunity that you have as a business and then the partners that you might look to attract. Fundamental to that is actually understanding who your customers are and the problems that you're trying to solve, And more specifically, how does your product or service actually solve those problems? That's potentially stating the obvious, but it's really, we often get caught up in the hype of the tech sector and the different technologies and buzzwords that go flying around. But I think at the end of the day, if we're able to clearly articulate how we solve our customers' problems, that gives us the ability to take our offering to market more effectively. Similarly, and this is where it starts to sort of encroach into what partners would require, how do you do what you do better than other products in the marketplace, whether they're direct competitors playing in the same product category as you, or other methods of doing the same thing. So understanding that landscape does become really important, because as you establish relationships with partners, they in effect become an extension of your organization, and then they will also be asking these questions of you. So the more you can think about these things up front, the more traction that you might get later on when it comes to both attracting partnerships, because you'll be demonstrating some maturity, or you may have developed tools and resources that you can pass on to them, again, to help them become more successful. And ultimately, success at the partner side will improve your success as well. So that translates, that sort of evolves nicely into how ready you are when it comes to supporting your partners. Obvious pieces of information around like marketing collateral, presentation content, all of those are sort of tickets to the game, if you like. But beyond that, can you provide your partners with any additional marketing or sales support? Do you have tools and resources that you can provide their salespeople to actually understand what questions they could be asking, how to handle objections, be able to just help familiarize your partners with the sales process and how your sales process works, so you can get better aligned with theirs. Similarly, one of the main reasons for us Kiwi companies to go global is to have a presence in another country. And that often requires us to travel, but on a BAU basis, it means that we have to form relationships with these people in the other countries. And what's the kind of way in which you're looking to communicate with them on an ongoing basis? What kind of mechanisms and resources will you provide and give them access to cater for different time zone challenges? All of these things are questions, and there are many others as well. These are key considerations that you can think about when looking to, when contemplating how ready you are to partner. But I think the world's a big place, and from us down in this part of the world, it's easy to keep on top of what's happening overseas, but there are myriad options available to us when we're looking to find a perfect partner. And at the end of the day, finding a partner may or may not be easy, but at the same time, sorry, that went too far. Because of the different options available to you when it comes to finding a partner, it's really important to actually understand why you're looking for a partner in the first place. Are you simply looking for a partner in a different country to create an avenue for you to promote your product or service in that market? Are you looking for a partner that has a complementary piece of technology that you could leverage as part of your product or in combination with your product? Are you looking to access a particular customer base, whether that's in the broad sense or whether it's in a particular industry that you've got some interest in or you've got some traction in, or that you want to develop a presence in? All of these are key considerations that you should think about when looking at who you might want to partner. And the answers to these will really influence who you go looking for and the partner that you end up selecting. At the end of the day, though, I think finding a partner and actually evaluating a partner comes down to six key areas, as listed here. I think the key one is resources and the ability for you to be able to provide support to your partner, but at the same time, what resources does that partner have to support you? And by resources, I mean that in the broadest sense. You could look at their financial resources. Do they have sufficient backing to be able to engage with you on a regular basis? Are they sufficiently successful so that you're not going to run the risk of investing a whole lot of time and effort into building a relationship with them, only for them to fall off the cliff in a few months' time? Similarly, do they have a mature sales, marketing, and other functions within the business that you can engage with to help promote, to help support the initial and ongoing sale of your product or service in their particular area? Industry specialization is also an important one. The tech space is well known for sort of products which attempt to be the proverbial Swiss Army knife, all things to all people. But I think as time goes on, we're becoming more mature in terms of how we look at that market and how we look at partnering with those other industries in those markets. As an example, Xero's done a fantastic job of embracing the needs of the accountant and bookkeeping sector, if you like. And they have really focused on partnering with representatives in that sector to go on and sell and support their accounting software. Similarly, they also work at a technology level, building out an ecosystem that they use effectively to integrate Xero with other apps in the marketplace. And by really focusing their attention on those areas, that has, in combination with significant resources, really helped help build some momentum and help get them into other markets that they would perhaps have struggled in just had they attacked those markets on their own right. Another interesting characteristic is looking at whether the offering you have complements another offering that a partner has. The proverbial sort of meat and potatoes, if you like. I think there are many opportunities to think creatively about this and how what may be considered a strong product on its own could work in conjunction with another product to create a combination that then works together and creates almost a 1 + 1 = 3 scenario. When that happens, the combination becomes almost a unique value proposition, which in and of itself can be of interest to potential customers, but could also really help differentiate or compete with other offerings in those markets. A big consideration for partnering with any organization these days is simply their ability to provide customer support. The customer experience, and that may be in-person experience, it may be online chat, it may be delivered through other resources, that becomes really important. And with time zone challenges, with capacity challenges sometimes, it's really important for us down in this part of the world to think about the capabilities that partners have when it comes to delivering support. And that could be problem solving or break fixing or answering end user questions, but at the same time it could also be support that's provided to help you market and sell your products too. On that, the other key facet is really about the readiness and maturity of that company, of that potential partner, to really take your products to market. Are they ready for it? Just as you're asking yourself the same questions about readiness, you need to ask those same questions of them and their ability to take the product to market, and then in the long term take it further and scale it. And a lot of this comes down to aligning expectations. So what do you want out of the partnership, and what do they want? And this is really making sure that once you've found the partner, that you're doing as much as you can to make sure you're on the same page. So in terms of going back to what you want, are you simply looking at this partnership as a way of gaining more revenue? does this partner have customers that are of interest to you, and you can see an opportunity to simply grow your customer numbers and grow the valuation of your company? Or do they have expertise in a market that you don't, or that you want to get into? Again, that's another aspect of a partner which you could look to leverage off. And similarly, if they've got a presence in one or more different countries, then again, this partnering is a great way of being able to get into those spaces. But at the same time, you've got to be quite clear when you're talking with them about understanding what they want. If they're small, are they willing to throw potentially a good chunk of their limited resources at the partnership? Is this partnership seen by them as a big bet? Are they betting the company on it, or a significant piece of their limited resources? Similarly, if they're a large company, then what is the underlying characteristic of what they want from you? Companies like Microsoft and AWS have strong technology and go-to-market propositions and established partner programs that you can use to get access to resources. But you're going to be one of many companies, so be clear about those expectations and what you want and expect to get, and what they get, what they want to get in return. I think the other aspects, as we got further down the track into what makes or breaks a partnership, come down to the commercials. What are the expectations on both sides? How will the partnership benefit you financially? How will it benefit them financially? Are your goals aligned in terms of the monies that are expected to pass hands both ways, and in terms of what do you share in terms of goals, so that you can both buy into the same journey and the same experience? And fundamentally, at the end of the day, are your businesses compatible with each other? Are they culturally aligned? Can you actually work with these people? Would you like to go out with a beer with them at the end of the day? These are all perhaps softer considerations, but nonetheless, oftentimes, whether you're a startup or a more established company, you've got to roll up your sleeves and go into battle together. Are these people that you want to go into battle with? So you've found your partnership, you've aligned your expectations, and you're starting to grow it. How do you actually make the most of it once it's in place? So, assuming your expectations are aligned, you both know what you want, how can you then take that and accelerate what you're after? An acceleration and really stepping up momentum, I would say, is up to you. Go at your own pace, understand what you want, and work towards those goals. Don't try and boil the ocean. Don't try and overextend yourself. And while many partners will like to be aggressive and try and push you in different directions, I guess the key thing is to try as best you can to make sure that you're working within levels of comfort that you and your team are comfortable working within. But I guess the key thing for gassing up a partnership is one key aspect which I think has worked for anyone making a good fist of setting up and running and growing partnerships. Just wait, and that's the battle for mindshare. Mindshare is all important, whether you're working with a small or large organization. Making sure that when they think of selling a product or marketing a product, and they've got other products in the mix, making sure they think of your offering becomes really critical. And whether you're small or whether you're large, it doesn't take that much to keep them in the loop, and a lot of the suggestions here really apply to you regardless of how big or small you are or how mature you are. Some of the more common courtesy people like to hear from people, and I think regular and frequent communication is really important when you're trying to establish a relationship with anyone, and that could be at multiple levels of the company, whether it's the CEO talking or whether it's senior people in the company at all levels. It's really important to keep up that frequency of communication. Depending on how mature you are, but investing and growing and providing access to resources is really important. Not only could collateral and white papers and other sort of pieces of thought leadership help to prove your understanding of an industry, but if you can make those resources easy to access and just streamline the process, that can really make a huge difference. In one business I was involved in, we set up our own online portal. We gave our partners unique logins and gave them access to a range of information, and sometimes the information was a little bit nuanced between different partners, but we made it really easy for them to get it 24/7. Another key aspect for getting traction with these partners is making it easy for the salespeople to sell the product, and I touched on this before, but in addition to providing the typical marketing collateral and presentation information that works well, particularly in the early days, what you need to try and do is build up trust with the partner, and trust works at multiple levels. It goes back to whether you're culturally aligned, but at the same time, it also means that you've got to prove to them your understanding of a particular domain space or a particular industry, or simply how well your product matches or beats other products in the marketplace. And all of these considerations can be documented and shared with the salespeople, and ultimately, if the salespeople that you're working with are effective at selling your solution, you'll be successful too. Keeping aligned at a business level is also important. So scheduling regular meetings and planning sessions is quite critical. Early on, those need to be very frequent, and I'd argue that you could perhaps even do those weekly and over the first few weeks of a partnership, just to make sure you can test the waters and ensure you're heading in the right direction. But always maintaining at the back of your head what those business outcomes are that you're driving to and what your partner is driving to. And by virtue of having frequent communication, you can listen for any signals that could be disconcerting. Has another organization come into the mix that's taking their attention away from you? Ask them, what more could you be doing to improve the partnership? What are they missing from you that you think that would make a difference to the partnership? All of those things are really important. I think the last point is also just as important as well. Just keep on innovating, because I think in New Zealand we're an industry where we are comfortable innovating. We love our technology. We need to let the world know about these innovations, and the same applies on a one-to-one basis with a partner. Whenever you do something that's new or different, as you're rapidly iterating, keep them in the loop, because that shows progress, that shows you're continuing to invest in your product, and that means that gives the partner comfort that you're continuing to invest in the partnership as well. And I guess at the end of the day, partnering at whatever level is an investment. So the extent to which it complements or replaces your traditional direct sales model is really up to you. But I think it's really important, regardless of how much resource you might have available, to be careful about how you invest it and making sure that it's proportionate to what it means to you. Overinvestment and throwing a lot of resource at any partnership may be necessary if you're really hungry and you want to make the partnership work, or you really want to impress the partner, or you see this particular partner as critical to your business's success in the near term. But monitor any relationship to make sure that you're getting what you want from the partnership, and monitor what they're also getting from you and what they're contributing in return. Don't be scared to walk away, but balance, just use common sense to actually keep an eye on what you're both bringing to the party, it's very easy to find someone and date them, but once you're married, things can change. So just be aware of that, and then going into any of these things with your eyes open actually can make a huge difference. So just in summary, the key to partnering is to be open, honest, and clear about what it is you want to achieve and what it is your partner wants to achieve. But partnering can be the key to giving your business scale and taking your company to the next level. For us here in New Zealand, it's an important and comparably low-cost way of getting access to expertise, customers, markets that would otherwise be difficult to access. And that almost is applicable regardless of whether you may be a SaaS product, a mobile app, or a more conventionally deployed solution. Partnering should have a place in your arsenal, and it's worth exploring no matter how established or new your business is. So that brings to an end sort of the key sort of talking points of this presentation. If you're looking at partnering or you're looking for tips on partnering, then good luck, and we hope to see if you've got any questions.
Thanks, Tim. That was great. And if anybody, we've got a bunch of questions here, but if anybody's got any others to add, just type them into the question window there, and we'll see what we can address. We've got about 5 minutes, which isn't too long, but we'll do our best. First question here, and I'll have a quick go at answering it, then I'll hand to Tim for his view. But somebody's asking any tips for finding credible partners. And I'd have 3 observations on that. First would be, as Tim talked about, it's getting that framework right is absolutely key. Getting the context of what is the market I'm focused on as tight as possible, what's the value proposition I've got, that can really guide your research around what's an appropriate channel. Because it's quite easy to find lots of potential channels, but hard to make them work. So getting that right is a challenge. So I'd get the framework right. The next thing is really understanding your market space in terms of the model. We've seen, the channel model can be so different for different industries. Say the medical device industry, surgical medical device industry we've worked in, channel is everything. You can't even hardly live in there without a good channel to the surgeon. Whereas, say at the other end, at HR software end, with the channel there has tended to be more of a referral type deal. So, it's a lot to do with the model of the industry and the geography as well, the way things work. Some of the guys on the call I can see have dealt, a lot in Asia, and they would know how complex that can be in terms of managing channel partnerships. So really understanding that. And the third is, just a practical thing. What we've found is that one of the best ways to find conferences in a lot of sectors is events, as conferences. Some have really formalized approaches to that. Bio in the US for biotech companies have a partnering forum where you can pitch pre-event and then do 15-minute sessions with a whole bunch of potential channels during the event, which is fantastic for qualifying each other. Through to just more casual things, we've found just if you've done your research, you understand what you're focused on in the model, going to target events and just wandering around stands can be a great way just to check people out, start developing relationships, because fundamentally a lot of the time it's about being able to work together. Tim, did you have anything to add to that?
Just a couple of things. I think with regard to the events, I think that's a great way of being able to see people face to face. Often you can, as you're hearing now, you can hear people's voices, but you can't look them eye to eye. So I think that's really important and a good way of getting events underway. I know, having been at tons of trade shows overseas where we've exhibited, because you're coming from a place that many people may not have heard, if you're coming from New Zealand, then I think actually having that physical presence there can't be underestimated. I also think that depending on what space you're in, as Greg mentioned, there are dozens of different partnership models. Some of the more established companies that have got partner programs in place, and I'm thinking of your Microsofts, your AWSs, and so on, they have got they often have programs that you can work with to both get traction here within their partner programs, but also to potentially take your products and services overseas and leverage off their ecosystems. And Xero, for instance, is exactly the same with its XeroCon conferences. And I think they're great ways of building up relationships, finding partners, but also doing some market analysis and testing too.
Great, thanks, Tim. We've probably only got time for one more, but I mean, Tim sort of addressed this during his talk, but there's a question there around, you know, partners often being easy to sign, but hard to get going. And I, as a former Jade Software employee, I know at one point we had more plaques on the wall of partnerships with telecom than we did of actual financial deals. You know, that is a challenge, and it's all about, as Tim said, understanding the objectives of the partner, which aren't always really the same as yours. You focus on the same end market, but their drivers are quite different. So it's understanding those in the context of the way you drive the relationship. Tim, did you have anything else to add to that one?
No, I think that's spot on, Greg. I think, yeah, like in the early days of any business, there seems to be a tendency in our industry to go away and partner with all of the big companies and basically do logo swaps, because the theory is that gives you credibility by virtue of having an assumed relationship with some of these bigger, smaller other entities. I think that the difficult thing is making that work. And again, there's no silver bullet necessarily. Often it just requires some hard work, some honest and open conversation around what it is you want, what it is they want, and then a framework to actually define and agree success, and then a commercial model that suits those outcomes too.
Yeah, great. Okay, we have a few more questions, but we're really at the end of our time. So what I'd recommend for anyone who has a question they'd like answered, here's our contact details. Either of us are really happy to engage post this webinar. In terms of the webinar, it will be recorded and that will be made available. There's also a partner ebook that Tim has authored, and we're pushing through our website. That's available. A number of you will already have that, but please go and download that if you don't. There's also other resources around channel on our website if you look at the blog and search under that area. But so lastly, I'd just like to thank you all for participating. Really happy to engage, you know, down the track and talk more about your partnering challenges. Sorry we couldn't answer all the questions. And I'll just hand over to Tim to say his farewells.
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate Greg's point, and thanks for your time and attendance today. Hopefully you found it worthwhile. As we've sort of touched on, there are many different dimensions to partnering, and you could argue that we've taken a relatively broad initial approach to that, just to get a baseline of understanding out there. But there are many nuances and many different approaches you can take, and I'd just like to invite you to engage with either of us if you want to discuss your needs further.
Great, thanks Tim. Thank you again everybody for your time and attention. We'd love to catch up with anybody in the future around the subject. Take care and have a good rest of your day. Thanks, goodbye.